ticket into a university, which is going to give them an unconditional offer based on their predicted grades. So is this hype around predicted grades real? Are they real and relevant? And to discuss this, we're going to open the house to the 4 ladies and gentlemen that we have. And I'd like to first ask Mr. Connor Jackson, what is the role of predicted grades at your university? When your admission counselor is looking at predicted grades, what is the role do you think the predicted grades, what role do they play? And if you were to rate the importance of predicted grades on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you say, how important are they?
Yeah, certainly. Thanks for the question, and thanks for organizing this panel, and thanks everyone for being here. So in terms of Carleton College's admissions process and relevantly to predicted grades, I would just start, we're practicing something called holistic admissions, right? Which means that we are hoping to understand certainly your capability as a student, but we also want to contextualize that within who you are as a person more broadly, and towards understanding what you might contribute to our community. We're a residential liberal arts college. We're fairly small. The existence of different activities within our campus and groups and the vibrancy of that space really relies upon students who are interested pretty broadly and are curious about learning from those around them. So that's a starting point. We want students who are intellectually curious, who are intelligent, who are motivated. And I think something that we're really inspired by are those who are going to contribute to the learning of others, right? So you're going to be in small classes, and it's really incumbent upon you to be someone who engages in debate, who thrives in asking questions, who is motivated to pursue areas beyond the inspiration of grades and assessment, and is going to take advantage of opportunities to do research. So that's the broad kind of sphere through which we are approaching all of this in our assessment process. And then to bring it around to the question, yes, predicted grades and academic performance do play a role in that. We are absolutely considering them, and I think they are something that allows us some strong insight into your abilities as a student. So, in terms of putting it on kind of a scale, it's a little bit hard to perfectly put that metric down. I would say broadly, yes, academics are very important. Like, they are the starting point for your being a successful student at Carleton. So they do matter.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. So would you actually wait for the actual result to come, or the predicted grades, which are a good indicator of the academic acumen of a child, would that be important for you? I'm not asking you to rate, say that academic importance is, of course it's important, but the predicted grades ahead of the main grades, how important does your university consider those grades which have been released by the school, and they are an indicator of the school's perception of the child? So how much importance do you give to that? We understand totally that you're looking at a whole child, you're looking at diversity, you're looking at adaptability and all of that. But what about the predicted score?
Yeah, we do consider the predicted score. That weighs heavily in our process. The timing is typically that we have the predicted score as the material through which we're able to make that assessment, and then later on are receiving actual results. So yeah, that I would weight that pretty heavily.
You would rate that pretty heavily. Thank you. That was the answer I was looking for.
Certainly, wonderful. Thanks for your patience.
Starting point for children to know that it cannot be a last-ditch effort. They've got to actually work hard and produce results that would speak of their performance in 2 years, and will give university a picture of a complete child, not only a child who makes a last-ditch effort at the very end. So thank you. That was very, very useful. Ms. Urvi Joshi, could you tell us about the problems you or the admission committee faces with respect to predicted grades submitted to you? Because I'm sure most of the times they're honest submissions and they are submissions that stand the test of time. But what are the problems that you deal with? You'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes.
All right. So first of all, I would like to, say in terms of if we are talking about predicted grades, definitely they play a significant role in terms of, a student securing an admission. Of course, we look at the past academic record and as well when we are making an assessment of the student. Now, if I talk about the kind of problems we would face in terms of IB students, we haven't faced as such issues, mostly because the predicted grades usually are accurate. However, if I talk about CBSE or ICSE students, mostly I have seen, either their scores are inflated or, that's a big problem. If their scores are inflated, that means they are applying to the universities they might not secure admission into. So that's one of the reason I would say that their scores needs to be in a scale where they would receive a similar kind of scores when they are completing their IB degree. So this is one of the things. Also, if their scores are less, that is also a problem again in terms of they might not be getting the right kind of offer as well from the a top tier university in case if the scores are less. So yeah, these are some of the problems I have seen. But in terms of IB, mostly I've seen that usually it is accurate because usually the scores look at last 2 years of performance of the student and then make an overall holistic assessment about the scores.
All right, thank you. That's very useful. So all students who are hearing in, I hope they've heard that the 2 years summed up in the predicted grades in an IB school is usually accurate. I think it's a huge responsibility on the school that they deliver accurate results. They neither inflate them nor do they deflate them, because in either case the students' interest get compromised. At this stage, I'd like to ask Mr. Wilkes of Imperial College to offer any suggestions to schools so that they're able to give an accurate predicted grades. What would you advise a school? What do you think a school should do to be able to predict accurately?
Well, I mean, I thank you for the question. I think the last speaker hit the nail on the head. In my experience, especially in India, is that you don't really see it in many other places where students have been under predicted, and often you would ask them, a school counsellor or a school, why have you under predicted the student? And they say it's because I don't want them to become complacent and stop working. Now, in the UK generally, and very specifically at Imperial, if you don't meet the minimum grades that we require predicted, we won't read your application. It doesn't matter about your personal statement. It doesn't matter about your reference. It doesn't matter about anything. It's a very simple calculation. If you aren't predicted to meet the minimum grades that we require, we will not look at your application. So, you know, I hear my colleague from across the Atlantic talking about the holistic person, and that, you know, we'd love to look at the holistic person, but we won't unless you meet our predicted grades. So if you're going to ask me about how important are they from a scale of 1 to 10, when we're looking at them, the importance of them is a 10. As long as you meet that predicted grade, you know, kind of thing, we then move on and look at the rest of your application. So I think things like what you're doing today, you know, this session trying to push the importance of the predicted grades is a really good thing for a school to be doing. I mean, it's educating the students that they need to be working hard right through, you know, 10th and 11th, and whenever it is that you're holding mocks and things like that. I think the only thing I would say, which I think you do anyway, is about making sure that the latest mock exam that you have is relatively close to when it is that you're predicting the grades, especially when students are moving around so much. They might move to a new school for 11th and 12th. They've been in a different school for 10th. So it's about when is the school doing that mock exam. How important is it making that mock exam, and are they really pushing to the students the fact that the mock exam is going to potentially impact the rest of their life? As you say, they can't just start working at the very end of what it is that they're doing. But I think you guys are doing things. I'm preaching to the choir here, because I think you guys are the predicted grades that we get are pretty on point.
Thank you so much. I think the message is loud and clear. While everybody wants to admit a child who's adaptable, who's who's there and who's there with the academics and the extracurricular activities, the basic requirement is always going to be your scores. So the message is loud and clear, and I'm sure our students are hearing it, and as our parents. But any special things that a school should do? I have noted down your suggestion, and I think it's very relevant, that the exam that should count the most is the mock exam that's as close to the main exam as possible, because the students are most prepared then. They cannot have an excuse saying that early on we weren't prepared, we were distracted. As close to the main exam, if you have a mock exam and you give it good, you give good credits to the scoring there, you should be able to get a good predicted score. What is your take on schools revealing the predicted grades to students, Mr. Wilkes?
I mean, honestly, we don't mind if you want to reveal the predicted scores to the students. Then that's absolutely fine. I think they're their predicted scores. Certainly for the UK, where we have a common app process called UCAS, and you're able to apply to 5 different institutions. It's really important for the student to know where they are, and where the school thinks that they are, because there's no point in them applying to Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial, LSE and UCL if they're not predicted, if they've got a 35 in the IB, because they're going to get predicted, because they're going to get 5 rejections. So I would share that information with the students, because the other thing is, if they've got low predicteds and that are fair based on their mock exams, that they shouldn't be unexpected, and that spurs them on and gives them a certain impetus to then work and get higher grades. The UK system again is relatively forgiving in terms of they could go into adjustment, something like this, where they didn't apply through UCAS, and when they actually get their IB results through, they can phone universities directly and say, I've done better than I expected. So do you have any places on these particular programs? What you never want to leave a student with is holding no options. So for me, I would tell the students, this is what we've predicted you, or we're going to predict you for the UK, because it informs them about roughly this is where I am. And then because you've got 5 choices in the UK, you can put a reach university, you can put 3 universities that you think I'm very likely to get in, you get the grades for these, and 1 university that's low, a lot lower than your predicted grades, and you have a good range, all through one common app. But yes, I think I would say where I land on it personally is you should share the scores with the students.
What we do at our school is we share an algorithm which helps students calculate it themselves. And I think the test scores are revealed to them, and they're smart enough to calculate using the algorithm. We do not like to reveal it to our students because there are some internal assessments, etc., that are still happening when the mocks are happening, and they have to be moderated by the IB. So those results cannot be declared. So even if we reveal the predicted grade, it will not be a very true reflection of how the student is going to perform. So we share the algorithm with all students. They are most welcome to come and discuss it with the coordinator and the college counselor. But we noted your point, and I think we are going to do some reflection on what we should do. Thank you. My next question is to Ms. Neha Khanna from Sciences Po. Could you tell us what is your university's response if let's say the predicted grades that have been shared with you are really, really inflated, and the IB scores that a child gets are not up to the mark, and vice versa. So what does your university do? Like Mr. Wilkes just said, that they could be forgiving. If the child has done well, the child could approach them again. They do offer them a second chance. What is your take as a university on a different score achieved during predicted grades and in the final IB scores?
For us, Yonspo, I think it would be better for audience to actually get a little bit of a background. So we are a part public, part private university. So every student at Yonspo is funded. So that means we don't have budgets to do any paid campaign for publicity. Our only investment is into our student body, because we are funding every student who joins us. And that is why we work with select few schools. Also, we are a very small school, just 14,000 students. So there's a trust relationship with the schools that we work with. And in India, we are working with around 100 schools, only 100 schools. So, and the schools know me, and me and my colleague, we personally go and talk to students and to the faculty. And that, I think, is a very beautiful element of this relationship building exercise. So there are very few schools, in my experience of having worked with Yonspo for a long time, that have sort of inflated the grades, or the grades were not what a child would have or student would have gotten on the final exams. But in that scenario, we do interview, and I always teach students, if the next president of the French Republic is going to be your batchmate, Yonspo is going to be very selective. So they have to go through a rigorous interview process at Yonspo, and where we meet them and we talk to them. And seriously, honestly, it's the right platform for me to declare. Grades are a kind of an elimination element for us. It's the minimum requirement. So like 39 in IB is what we need at Yonspo. But actually, everything beyond grades is what we are looking at. Also, because we have to be selective, we don't have the manpower to interview tons and tons of students. So they really act as a tool for elimination for us. We look at their CVs, their motivation letter, and I'm sure all the top universities in the world are doing the same. But again, coming back to that holistic profile that we're looking at. So it doesn't happen very often with us. We don't meet schools that are inflating grades. It's only once or twice that I have seen it has happened, but students do get caught during the interviews. So.
All right, wonderful. However, 39 on a 45 is a tall order as it is. So you've set your targets rather high, and thereafter, of course, you're looking at all besides those 39.
Everything above beyond grades. Yeah.
All right, thank you. That was very useful. We have some questions on the chat. I'm done with my questions that I needed to ask. Jyotika, I cannot see the chat for some reason. It's still downloading. Have you been able to see the questions?
I could see the chat, but at the moment there are no questions. Maybe the attendees here could write in their queries there.
They could unmute themselves. Children, you can unmute yourself. Ahana Verma, you are still an MYP student and you're not very familiar with the predicted grades.
Yes.
Beta, this is not an opportunity for us to tell you the nitty-gritties of predicted grades. So please connect with either Ms. Nagma, Ms. Jyotika, or with me. We will tell you how predicted grades are calculated. But I think through the session, you've realized that they're hugely important for your college applications. There is a question that says, for CBSE students, how are the predicted grades? Any idea how predicted grades are calculated and thereafter given to the universities? Would any of you would like to talk about that? Anybody knows about CBSE schools? Ours is an IB, so I could speak for that.
I can take that up because at Yonspo we do take students from CBSE because we want to encourage Indian boards because we have offices in India and we want to be committed to the country. So it's slightly lenient for us for CBSE and ISC, so 90%. But we do need predicted grades. So counselors do send us for CBSE and ISC as well.
All right, great. Are sports achievements taken into account, Mr. Jackson? Sports achievements at national level, state level, within the country, do they count for anything for admissions, apart from, of course, the grades?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, certainly, right, your grades, your academics are going to be a starting point. If you have phenomenal sports achievements beyond that, that's great. We will certainly consider them. Usually they're going to be listed in your activities, and how you've spent your time is relevant to your college application. So there's a reflection there. If you have phenomenal achievement in a certain realm, then that's something that absolutely you should tell us, and we're going to consider. But secondary to your academic aptitude.
All right. So the benchmark is the academic achievement, and everything beside, on top, with it is all acceptable, and the more the better. If you are predicted you're predicted in an IB is a 38 and you score a 37, are you still going to be accepted in the university, Mr. Wilkes? So if your cut is, let's say, a 40 and a child gets a 39, are you not even going to look at the child's application?
Okay, so if you've been predicted a 39 and then we have made you an offer of 39, so obviously in the UK we take your predicted grades first, but then we're going to make you an offer saying, so it's conditional that you actually achieve these grades. If you so you said if we made an offer at 40 and the student achieves a 39 in the IB, what's going to happen there is they're a near miss. They've only missed by 1 point, and they will then have to wait until the A-level results come out. So when we have the A-level results in August, and then we will assess, you know, the whole cohort, and we'll look at how many near misses we had in A-levels, how many near misses we had from CBSE, etc., all the different grades from right the way across the world, and then only then would we decide whether or not we were going to confirm their place. It would depend what they'd missed their point in. That is something. So if they'd missed their point in an extended essay, that's very different to them missing the 7 in HL maths that we required and only getting a 6 or something like this. But it wouldn't be an automatic rejection, but you put your place in jeopardy. And to be honest, it's quite rare that we then have to drop down and go to our near misses. We're pretty good anticipating in normal years outside of COVID-19 how many people are going to achieve their predicted grades, or not. So for the UK system, it's pretty unforgiving in the fact that we're not a minor major system. We don't have 2 years with you for you to kind of find yourself and find your way into learning or anything like this. It's a 3-year bachelor's, it's a 4-year master's program. We expect you to academically hit the ground running. So we can't, it's not fair on the students to take on students who aren't at the academic level that we need, which is why when we're looking at the previous question, we were asking about sports and things like that. For Imperial, the short answer around your sporting achievements is no. They're not going to have a big impact on admissions with us. We're looking for co-curriculars and extracurriculars that you've done outside the classroom related to your course. We're far less interested if you were captain of a sports team or something like this. And that's going to be a big difference between the UK and other parts of the world, is that academic focus.
All right, that's rather tough. I'm glad students know about it now than later. How does the IB score convert to a GPA? Which of you would like to talk about that?
We don't use GPAs, so preferably not me.
IB scores get converted to percentages for Indian universities, and we write into IB and get it done. But I think none of the universities here use a GPA, so they would not know. There is a child who's written in saying, ma'am, I'm a CBSE student. I wanted to ask how the scores will be predicted for me. Are the predicted score numbers specific or general grades like A1, A2? So we know that for universities requiring an early decision or children sending in their application, we send the college counselor sends the predicted grades to the university. So is that the same that happens for a CBSE school? Maybe Neha, you could answer that.
In my experience of working with CBSE schools in India, most top schools in big cities are able to send us a mark sheet with marks and grades together and a predicted grade sheet. But the ones who are not able to send, we accept the mock exam results as well. But because we need your midterms, we need your mock exam results, we need your predicted. So at least three exam results from 12th grade, we need 11th grade, we need your high school grade sheet as well. So at least 5 mark sheets from 10th to 12th. So
the school should be able to provide. The school should be able to provide. The college council
always. I doubt that your school wouldn't have that. If you could put your school's name in the chat box, I could.
Ayush 5666, who's a guest. We have invited students of other schools as well. So this is a child who's a guest. Ayush, if you could put down the name of your school, the counselors here, Summerfield School.
Summerfields, no. I don't think your school is no, not on my network, but I'm sure that they would know.
The college counselor would know. Ayush, please connect with your college counselor. Another student of ours has written that are personal statements, essays held in equivalence to one's predicted grades, or does the latter carry more significance? I think Mr. Wilkes and the others have said it several times, that personal statement and everything over and above comes later. Your predicted grades and the final grades, I think, are more important. Did I say the right thing, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. Any other questions?
Ma'am, I see one hand raised of Ms. Surabhi Joshi.
Yeah, yes, Surabhi.
No, I just wanted to contribute to CBSE students, the predicted grades, because I think they have quite a few questions. So we do receive predicted grades from schools for CBSE students. Now, they are usually based on their pre-boards. That is what, or the internal class assessments which they do. Like I said, I have seen the CBSE predicted grades mainly usually either deflated or inflated, not very accurate, because I think the practice is not very old, unlike IB, wherein, there has been a practice of giving predicted grades and the counselors know about it. It's just that CBSE and ICSE schools are now getting into a habit of these predicted grades. So they're still trying to assess. So I think if you have a school counselors, because sometimes CBSE, ICSE schools might not have a school counselor as well, their teachers are giving out these predicted grades and they have to individually talk to each and every teacher and get these predicted. So you will have to obviously contact your school and find out individually. It's a very different process from each school to school. That is what my suggestion would be. If you have a counselor, contact them, or else obviously your teacher would be the guide, to tell you the kind of predicted scores you would receive.
Okay. Another child's asked the same question. What's the value of predicted grades? We said that predicted grades are almost as important as the actual grades, because the colleges will not even look at your applications if you don't meet the minimum requirement. Any other questions that we have? You could unmute yourself and ask the ladies and gentlemen, the panelists yourselves. Children, you could do it. You can unmute yourself and ask your questions directly. If we have any parents who would like to ask something, please feel free to do so. I think we've scared the student community and they're rendered speechless now. So with no more questions coming in, Jyotika, as the coordinator of DPS International and IB coordinator, you have any questions that you would like to ask? Any teacher at DPS International would like to ask any questions? Like I said,
I think we discussed everything which was supposed to be discussed here. And as rightly said by Ms. Seema, I think we've left every child speechless and got them to start, thinking on what next and how to get things in place in case they are still at a much lower grade than what is expected from them. So I'm sure everybody will start working after hearing this conversation. And thank you so much. Over to Ms. Seema. Thank you.
All right. So I think if the panelists wish to say something, the field is open to them. Otherwise, we'd like to close the session now. If any of you would like to say anything in particular, any last messages, important messages? No? All right.
Just to say thank you very, very much for the, on behalf of all of us for the session and for organising today. It's been a really good experience. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I echo. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
It was really good.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Thank you, Mr. Wilkes. Thank you, Surabhi, and thank you, Neha. Thank you so much. God bless. Thank you. We can all leave the group now. Children, the recording of the program of the session will be available just in case anybody wants it. You can get in touch with Ms. Jyotika. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.